We are going to begin by looking at measures of center. This is the place where our data is centered, what is kind of in the middle of the data. So the very first way that we can measure the center of the data is through the mean. And this is what you have commonly come to know as the average. So when you found averages of your grades, for example, in school, by adding up all of the grades and then dividing by the number of scores that you had, that was a mean. Now we need to be certain that we understand the two different symbols for means. The mean of a population uses the Greek letter mu, and that's pronounced mu. The mean of a sample has an X with a bar over it, or you might hear me say X bar. Now, most of the time we're going to be doing means of samples because populations are just too big to find the mean of, unless we have a very small population, which is sometimes the case. We find both of them in the same way, though, by adding up everything that we have and dividing by the number of data that we have. So let's find the sample mean of a group of men with the following heights. So I've got 6 heights there. I'm going to add them all up. 68 plus 72 plus 75 plus 73 plus 66 plus 70. That gives me 424. And now I want to take my 424 and divide it by 6, since I have 6 pieces of data. That gives me 70.67 if I round it to 2 decimal places. Just be careful in your homework to make sure of what decimal place the homework asks you to round to. All right, now let's go on to another measure of center called the median. The median is the piece of data that separates the lower 50% of the data from the upper 50% of the data. In other words, if we line up all the data, the median will have the same number of data to the left of it and the same number of data to the right of it. So let's notice I've listed some steps to finding the median. The first thing we've got to do for the median is we've got to put all the data in order. Always got to put that data in order. If we have an odd number of data, it's going to be directly in the middle of all of our data. If we have an even number of data, we're going to average together the 2 middle pieces of data. So let's take a look at both of those instances. So we want to find the median of the weights of 7 women, and we have those listed here. First, put them in order. So let's put them in order. Let's see, I think the smallest one is 131, 135, 142, 145, 150, 180, and 210. And I should have 7 there, which I do. Always check yourself when you're done putting things in order to make sure you haven't left anything out. Now, if we look at the exact center, right here at position 4 is 145. That's our median. Notice there's 3 pieces of data to the left of 145. There's 3 pieces of data to the right of 145. And that should always be the case. So 145 is our median. All right, so let's look at an example where we have an even number of data, as we did with the heights of the men in the example above. We're going to find the median of these heights of men, but just as we did with the last one, we're going to put them in order first. So let's see, we have 66, 68, 70, 72, 73, 75. Okay, now this time, there's 2 pieces of data that are the center. The 70 and the 72 are exactly in the middle here. So since there are 2 of them, we average them together. We say 70 plus 72 divided by 2. Or that's going to give us 142 divided by 2, which gives us a median of 71. So if it's an odd number of data, once they're in order, we can just pick it out right there in the middle. If it's an even number of data, we take the 2 pieces that are in the middle and we average them together. And notice if we were to stick that 71 right there, there would be 3 pieces of data to the left and there'd be 3 pieces of data to the right. Always the same number on both sides of the median. All right, now lastly, another measure of central tendency is our mode. And the mode is the easiest thing to find because it's the piece of data that occurs the most frequently. All right, so let's take a look at the example. Find the mode in the following data comprised of number of arrests in a certain precinct through 5 different weeks. So we've got 5 different pieces of data there. Well, let's notice the thing that occurs the most commonly here, or the most often, is 44. Our mode is as simple as that. Our mode is 44. Now, sometimes we will not have a mode if, for example, all of the numbers are different. And sometimes we might have more than one mode. If we, for example, had 3 numbers, or we had a number that occurred 3 times, and we had another number that occurred 3 times, then we might have 2 modes, or we could even have 3 modes. So we can have more than one mode.